Well, I'm here with Todd Jarvis, president of Servidyne, and Ben Taub, the executive director of the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time today. An upcoming conference that is happening in Atlanta, Georgia, Green Business Works EXPO, happening at the end of the month. There's an interesting part of the conference that I wanted to touch on first, which was that some of the conference has conferences within a conference. So I wanted to get from you guys why you guys are participating in conferences within a conference. Todd, we'll start with you.
We first approached Stephanie when we were participating in the Green Business Expo, and we had discussions that we felt like last year there was not enough focus on energy efficiency. We suggested that it could be a good idea to have a focused track or program around energy efficiency. And Stephanie she opened up to the idea, and we got Ben Taub involved with the SEA to participate. And what we've tried to do is bring some rifle shot thoughts and people that are really doing well in energy efficiency out of the Southeast to come and tell their story.
What's the takeaway?
The challenge in energy efficiency efforts to really move the needle is to try to place yourself where someone else has really affected change. And we think the best way to educate people is to share case studies and success stories. And there's a lot of examples of good success stories that are going on in the Southeast. We've participated in a lot of those, and we've tried to recruit some of the people that we've worked with and reach out to other partners that are also in the marketplace and share their stories. That's why we thought it would make a lot of sense with Ben and the organization that we participate in, the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance, to bring Ben's group in and pull in some other partners that are working with the SEA as well.
Cool.
So yeah, that's the value of this partnership, is that working with Servidyne, we'll have the real case examples, what's happening out there at the commercial industrial level. We'll bring in the policy level discussions, the financing level discussions, and the legal barriers that are out there in the marketplace, and try to combine the real examples of what's working and how to solve those solutions across the region.
Somebody that's in a company right now is watching the interview and they don't know very much about energy efficiency. Where's a good place for them to start? What do they need to do in order to establish energy efficiency programs within their own business? And Ben, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, businesses need to look at the bottom line. What are they spending on energy? Where are their expenses happening? And how was their technology? And when's the last time you looked at lights, HVAC? How is their operation and maintenance plans? Are they in place? Do they have such thing? And then they need to look at process and procedures, audits, opportunities to really drive in energy efficiency opportunities, and working with companies like Servidyne to come in and help them identify where these issues are occurring and how to solve those issues.
So what are some of the things that you guys, as you're working with clients, what are some of the common things that companies are finding that they need to work on?
Well, the first is, I'm going to also answer the question that you were just asking Ben, is awareness. Where are you? So everyone's aware of what their utility bills are, but how do you actually cost allocate those into your business? Where are you actually using energy? What are you using it for? How efficient is it? And so how do you answer those questions? There are a lot of tools that are available that are free, or a lot of tools that are available through groups like Servidyne and other partners that are out there to actually find out, how is my operation, how efficient is it, and how does that compare to someone else's operation that may be very similar to what we're doing? There are a lot of benchmarking tools, and that's typically the first step. How do you benchmark where you are? And that actually provides the place that you can measure what the change may be.
So it sounds like the roadmap is probably is step one, because everybody's roadmap is going to be different.
You have to measure where you are and then lay out the plan on how you can actually affect change and implement energy efficiency in your operation.
So let's look at Georgia and this region as a whole. Give us your estimation on how companies in Georgia are doing. Are they implementing energy efficiency programs? Are you seeing the trend start to go that way? If not, why isn't that the case? If it is, how do we make it happen faster?
in my opinion, I think the Southeast, particularly here in Georgia, we're in a place that's different than other parts of the country. And what I mean by that is we have typically had very, very low cost of power. There's not been a lot of focus on the utility cost here, and the times are changing. Costs are going up for a number of different reasons, but costs are going up. We don't quite have the incentives. The utilities in the Southeast do not have the pressures. They're not quite in the dire circumstances that you see utilities in other parts of the country. So the utilities here are not providing huge, substantial financial incentives to drive change, but we are seeing, depending on the utility and depending on just which type of utility case we're talking about, we're seeing some significant annual increases in costs that are impacting your business's bottom line. And so that is really driving the change, is how do I become more efficient? And because whenever you actually implement energy efficiency, those savings, after you pay for your investment, hit the bottom line. So it's the true value that energy efficiency actually can provide is what's making the movement effective here in the Southeast. And it's not necessarily financial incentives, which have really been the drivers in other parts of the country.
Ben, is Georgia a leader in the Southeast, or are there other states that are leading the charge?
There are other states that are leading the charge across the Southeast when you look at energy efficiency programs at different levels. You can look at utility level, you can look at state level, you can look at what local governments are doing. Clearly there are leaders across the region, and we can point and say where there's leaders in each of those components. Georgia is starting to track towards other states in the region. We're seeing more implementation happening at the utility level. We're seeing a little bit of stronger state policy perspective. And so when you combine these opportunities and these policies coming together, it is helping drive the market here.
Companies can measure the effectiveness of energy efficiency projects, A, by just the financial benefit. It can be measured by the environmental benefit, and in many cases it could be measured depending on the operation. Perhaps if you're in the service business, in the hospitality business, if you're in the commercial office building business, it may be on the increased satisfaction of the occupants of that space, if they're tenants, employees, or customers. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can actually measure the benefits. And you can measure it through comparisons of, again, you have to establish a benchmark to start down the path, and you can just track the improvements that you're making.
Are the projects being initiated by senior level management and driving it down, or are you guys finding that your clients are actually having it driven up from the employees themselves, saying that this would actually help our business better if management was able to establish and initiate energy efficiency programs?
We're seeing projects driven from both sides of an operation. Actually, you're seeing senior level decisions that an organization needs to implement an energy change or energy consumption change in their business, or it could be environmental awareness in the business, or a sustainability program, or carbon analysis or carbon footprinting in the business. All of these things really track. They're different, but they all have a common thread among them. And so you have to have support at the top level of an organization to really implement a lot of projects. But a lot of times projects happen down at the very lowest level of an organization. Energy efficiency, true change, it's not one big thing. It's not, unfortunately, it's not one big project you can just throw a lot of money at. It's small, incremental, and the accumulation of a lot of incremental changes that really move the needle.
There are a lot of folks that will tie renewable energy to an energy efficiency program. Do you agree that that's one and the same? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
From my perspective, we think renewable is an excellent idea. However, if you're looking at your capital that you're going to invest in the overall effort, we first challenge you to look at your existing operation, and are you as efficient as you can be in your existing operation through the processes and the equipment that you have and the people that you have in place to actually support that. if you're at the point that you have satisfied yourself that you have completely upgraded and taken advantage of all the technology improvements that are out there, then it could make some sense for you to look at renewable alternatives. And in that case, you truly are leading the effort when you do that. If you're just going down the path to participate in renewables or alternative efforts and haven't fully looked at all of your operations in your business, then you haven't picked what we think is the lowest hanging fruit in your operation.
Talk to us a little bit about the value add that you guys have in the market.
Servidyne has a unique culture and expertise to understand how both energy, operations, and maintenance actually affect not only a building, but a business, and how you can actually drive change to improve your operations that are driven out of both of those areas. And that's the expertise that Servidyne has of getting into your operation, working as your advocate to lay out the strategy and the steps to actually affect change.
So you're actually rolling up the sleeves and getting into the actual operations of the business instead of looking at it from a 50,000 foot view.
We start acting as a consultant, and we end up working as a partner. And so I actually tell you this is what you should do, and we're equipped with the different resources within our business to help you go through whatever barriers you may have to make the change happen. Energy efficiency is not something that you can just do one day. You have to stay on it every day. It has to be actually embedded in the culture and the operations of your business.
The role that corporate sustainability has played in your growth of your business, how does that factor into the increased client base that you guys have had over the last couple of years?
I've been in the energy efficiency marketplace for a bit over 20 years. I'm fortunate to have an extremely well-credentialed, very talented team around me, and some of the players have been in for 30, 35 years. We have been pushing the marketplace during these 20, 30 plus years, and over the last 2 years we're now trying to keep up with the marketplace. There's now initiatives that are driven from organizations like Ben's organization that are regionally focused or locally focused. There's organizations that are driving federal changes, and now we are really trying to just keep up with those changes. And because of that new market awareness, businesses now know they can increase their bottom line by implementing energy efficiency programs. They can also really affect change through sustainability initiatives. And that's all part of the Green Business Expo's awareness. It's another obvious point that you have workshops, conferences that are driven out of this type of organization that drive that awareness. So when we're in trying to sell the value proposition, which typically is always financially driven, it is not a tough sell to say we think that we can actually improve your operation. And not only it makes good financial sense, it makes good environmental sense, it makes good social economic sense as well.
Are there any final thoughts?
I would encourage everyone to come out to see the conference and to learn what's going on here in the Southeast, and learn from people that are participating, learn from those that have actually implemented energy efficiency programs and have had some successful projects, so you can maybe take those thoughts and go back and apply them to your own organization.
Ben?
I would agree with Todd. I mean, we look forward to seeing as many people as we can on October 27th, and hope that it's a dialogue. It's not there's a learning experience, but it's an opportunity to talk, ask questions, and learn.
October 27th, Cobb Galleria. Todd Jarvis, Ben Tobb, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate it.